wedding after what happened just then. Anyway, the next one up will be my parents. So my mom and dad, Rob and Peggy, have been incredibly supportive to all three of us, to Charlotte, to myself, and to Jillian as we've grown up. They've been there at every turn for us with advice, with love, and with support whenever we need it. There are perhaps nobody more that are more happy to see Charlotte, live out her dream today than my two parents. As I watched them recite, their speech last night in the trailer, and they were going over it, trying to make it perfect. I was just reminded of, what loving parents we have, what beautiful parents we have, and they were a little nervous at the time about, how it was going to go, and at least they don't have something crazy good to follow up. So, anyway, without further ado, I'd like to welcome up my parents, Peggy and Rob Hemstock.
Okay, Riley is Rob's genetic makeup. Sorry, I didn't write it in big font. I do want to start by first thanking so much Neil and Carol for allowing us to come to this beautiful place, and also to the greater McLeod family. This is truly a piece of paradise, and to allow us to come here and celebrate Charlotte and Heath is so special. Charlotte loves to come to the ranch, and when she first came, you kind of say it, but then we've been invited many times to come out here. So Rob and I have seen what it's like to be out at the ranch, and I especially love it because I get to ride my horses out here. Like, Charlotte might got a little bit of the horsey stuff from me.
A little bit.
But what we also see is that when we've been out here, we see how all of the McLeods treat Charlotte like she's already part of their family. We didn't need to wait for today. I come and it's like she's one of them, and they treat her like one of them, and that warms our heart more than anything to know that she is going to be welcomed and loved by the McLeod family.
So, weddings always are a time to reflect a bit, and we certainly took the last few weeks to reflect on Charlotte and how the years have really flown by. It feels like it. Just yesterday, she was just walking around on her hands and knees and so forth. So, we're just amazed at how she's grown up and become the beautiful and accomplished woman she is today. But there's just a few attributes about Charlotte that I think have already been talked about, but they stick in my mind too. And the two that come to mind is she truly is really a caring and generous person. And then you bundle that together with she's a kid who has just a wonderful artistic ability, if you've seen some of her artistic work. And I remember thinking, she's about 3 years old, and there she is drawing horses on the easel. It's the easel back there that has all the schedule on it that actually her grandfather, Nick here, Gita made for her many years ago. So she would spend hours and hours working on the easel. And so I'd help her now and then, and I was helping her draw horses, and I began to realize she's 4 years old, and I said, what is wrong with me? This kid's teaching me how to draw horses at this point. But it wasn't just her artistic talent that stood out to us. Rather, it's how she bundled her artistic talent with this caringness and this passion for other people and caring. And I can't tell you how many hours she spent as a kid drawing pictures for other people as gifts, pouring her heart really into these projects. And two really come to mind. One is, if you go to our community center, the Springbank Park for All Seasons, you'll see 4 pieces of full-size plywood with a mural on it. And Charlotte did that when she was a teenager. Riley and Jill did a little bit of the sky, I remember. But Charlotte did the whole painting on 4 sheets of plywood that depict all the different activities that go on at the park for all seasons: hockey, figure skating, baseball, everything. And that is there today. And, that was just a work of passion that she did as a contribution to our community. The other one that really sticks in my mind is in my office at work, I have a little meeting room behind my desk, and there was a horse painting she did for me. And people used to come into my room and they thought this was a professional artist who did this work. And I'd always say, well, no, this was done. They would point it out, they'd make a big deal about it, and I'd say, no, this is just a special gift from my daughter, Charlotte. So Charlotte's a wonderful big sister, to Riley and Jillian. She really was Peg's little helper. She's a real rule follower, as you have all heard. She's by far the winner of the rule following of the 3 kids. So she used to try to boss the kids around and help Peg parent them a bit when she was 5 years old. But one thing that actually happened is Riley and Jillian began to figure out how much it stressed her out and ticked her off to actually break rules and not follow her directions. And so they had a lot of fun with that.
Charlotte also is a very great student in school and worked very hard. She also, whatever she puts her mind to, actually, she works very hard at. From a very early age, like anyone would do, is when your kids are little and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she started from very small, from when she could talk, probably 3-year-old play school, I want to be a veterinarian. And this was her goal, and it was her goal through grade school. It was her goal as she attended the university at Acadia for her 3 years of undergraduate, and she was determined she was going to get there. Now, as parents, we were a little bit concerned about that, and Rob and I would say, okay, Charlotte, but what is plan B? Do you have plan B? We should think about plan B, maybe plan C. And Charlotte was like, no, I'm going to get where I know I can do this. And we know she is determined, she is intelligent, thoughtful, and a wee bit stubborn. So this all worked out for her, and she did end up going to the University of Calgary for veterinary medicine and to become a veterinarian, which she loves her work most of the time. So she shares a few of her mishaps, a lot with Heath, and Heath will say to her, okay, Char, 5 more minutes, and then we're done talking vet talk, okay? Charlotte is also, as Zach mentioned, like Heath is, just willing to do anything and everything. So she would try all kinds of activities, and Danny mentioned maybe sports weren't her top, but she did them all. So we started her with dance, and she says to me, Mom, why did you do that? Like, I can't dance. I was like, well, we just tried everything. So she did gymnastics, she swam, she played soccer, even though Rob says she picked more dandelions than she did play soccer. She does ski. And she did most of the school sports. She tried to be a volleyball player. If you've seen her play beach volleyball, she does try hard. But she did excel at piano. I had all the kids take piano. Riley and Jill, I think, opted out much earlier, but Charlotte played all the way through and all the way to high school, where she actually played and sang at her grade 12 graduation. As you know, however, her focus early on has always been animals. And she started to take riding lessons when she was 8 years old. And if you've ever watched her with animals, and especially horses, she has a passion for that, and she is a natural.
Okay, Peg, listen, about the plan A and plan B, though, I have to say, we had a fair number of calls when she was in Acadia University where it went something like this: I'm never gonna be a vet. So yeah, she was persistent. Now, most people think that Charlotte got introduced to riding by Peg, and Peg was a great horse mom who took Charlotte and Jillian to a lot of lessons and a lot of horse shows and stuff. But the truth actually is that Charlotte got her start in our living room on my back while I was on my hands and knees. And she used to grip my ribs so tight I could barely breathe. and she would hold the back of my collar of my shirt, and she would yell, "Come on, horsey! Come on, horsey!" And we would chase Riley and Jillian around the living room. But no, Charlotte's relationship with horses has had a profound effect on her life. And really, I think, I wasn't always the biggest horse fan in the world, I have to admit. Not gonna lie about it. But I did see at the end of the day that it did teach her a lot about life, hard work, patience, perseverance, and responsibility. So in the end, couldn't have gone better. Now, I remember, let's talk about Heath for a second here. I remember the first day I met Heath, actually, and Peg has the memory for the family usually of historical events. She just reminds me of them all the time, but I do remember this one very clearly. It was August 2013. So here we are, we're sitting in an auditorium, a theater at the vet school, and these guys haven't even gone to vet school class yet, but it's this little induction ceremony where each individual student gets introduced, and they get presented with a white lab coat by the professors, a group of professors, and get their picture taken and all that. And they go through the whole list of kids in the class, one after the other. So here we are, we're watching this ceremony, and I'm videotaping it, on my phone. And so here I'm videotaping along, and Charlotte's name gets called, and Charlotte goes up, and she's following all the protocols in the operation here, right? She walks up, is very, very calm and collected, and they give her coat and nice polite applause and everything, and she comes back. But I keep my tape running, and Heath was, as he said, right after Charlotte in their class list, as it turned out. So there's this Heath McLeod kid. And so his name gets called, and there's this big hoot at the back of the auditorium there at the lecture theater, and there comes Heath barreling down the stairs. And not one for big, pomp and ceremony, I noticed. He gets his lab coat, slaps his arm around one of the profs, gets his picture taken, and off he goes, right? So I'm looking at the video just a couple weeks ago. I hadn't looked at it for, since August 2013, and it... I can hear myself say at the end of Heath walking back up the stairs, something to the effect that guy's going to be fun to be with. So who knew? 8 years, almost to the day later, here we are, we're with Heath. Now, the attribute I think I clearly like most about Heath is Heath's strength. And when I'm talking about strength, I don't mean how far he can pound a golf ball out there or how many cow preg checks he can do in a day, like 100 or 150. But, I'm not going to lie. I've seen that happen too, and those are impressive. No. The strengths I'm talking about are really two things. One are his strength of character, and the other is his strength of his love for Charlotte. Now, these things are obviously very important to Peg and I, because we know that it's those two fundamental strengths that are going to bring Charlotte much happiness for the rest of her life. So with that then, I think it's you next. That was kind of the hardest part.
So we have had an opportunity to get to know Heath a fair bit over the years, some at our place in Springbank and some at our place in Montana. And again, just like Charlotte, he is game for anything. He really doesn't sit still for a whole lot. So whatever we have planned, he's willing to do it. It could be snow skiing, it could be water skiing, splitting wood. He is very good at splitting wood, and packing it for us. Surfing, he helps us barbecue, hiking, golf, skating. Beach volleyball. I think beach volleyball has been brought up here before. If you want a really good story about beach volleyball, just ask Riley. Heath is a tad competitive, and I learned this over the years. He's very polite when he comes to our house, and then you see him in action in sports, which, I'm not out there on the golf course with him, but I see that. And games. And so I think, again, Zach brought this up. So I had never played Settlers of Catan, and I want to learn how to play Settlers of Catan. And so he's like, yeah, I'll help you. I was like, oh, great. And in his very polite, like, oh, this is Char's mom, so I'm going to be really polite, and this is what you do, and here and here. And so you think, oh, this is great, he's really helping me, but not at the expense of winning. There is not a time where he's like, oh no, put that over there because that might be a better move. He's going to make sure he wins every time. So we're getting close to the end. My wish for both of you is that life becomes all that you want it to be. Yep, I stole this from one of my all-time Make Me Cry songs. I wish your dreams stay big, your worries stay small. You never carry more than you can hold. And while you are both out there getting where you're getting to, I hope you know we love you and we want the same things too.
So I'll just close it off by saying, Charlotte and Heath, you guys have a wonderful life ahead of you together. We're looking forward to watching it, hopefully from the front row. And Heath, we couldn't be more happy, Peg, myself, Jillian, and Riley, to have you join our family. So if everybody could please raise a glass and join us today in congratulating Charlotte and Heath and wishing them all the best for a long and happy life.